talking to Camille, who's the lead actress from Was Dali. Congratulations, welcome to the Festival in Nice.
Thank you very much. Nice
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
Wonderful to meet you. So, tell me about yourself, how you got the role in this, how did it all come about, how you know the director. If you can give us a synopsis of the film as well.
Yeah, so it's Eduardo Rifeisen, who was actually Brazilian, who wrote and directed the film. It Was Dali. And basically, it was a crazy experience because we shot everything in one day. Like
right.
We had 7 hours when I did like more than 74 takes. So
sorry, 74?
Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
How long is the film? Sorry. How long is the film?
Yeah, it's a short
film.
Sorry, yeah. So it's like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah,
10
I know.
minutes.
So yeah, okay.
But so it was pretty crazy. There were 2 actors, 1 location, this kind of like empty house, and we were just like kind of dancing all together, very small team. So it was in America, in San Francisco, we shot this, but a very European, intimate kind of almost new wave, French new wave way to shoot it.
Oh, like a Truffaut or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm making
and
it sound
I was
like
the muse.
Yeah, I'm making it sound like I know my director. So, how did the role come to you? I mean, how were you? I don't know if you got casting. I'm not sure how the gig came about, but how did it all happen?
No, basically, I mean, I just had worked with him a couple of times, and he wanted to, like, basically he's working on a feature and he wanted to shoot kind of like pieces and then make them together.
Right.
So we shot a piece in San Francisco, we shot a piece in Paris that is still in post-production, and he wants to shoot a piece in Brazil. And all the time it's kind of like these stories around this woman.
Oh, so they're all linked to the same,
I'm kind of like the centerpiece of a woman who is kind of...
so when you say the muse, actually, you kind of are,
I
I guess.
am the muse, yeah. I
yeah.
wanted to be kind of like, pretty humble, but I'm not. I mean, I have golden shoes and I'm an actress, so let's not pretend.
But it does all centre around you.
Yeah. Basically, it's kind of like 3 situations about a woman who is stuck in a relationship with a man, and somehow tries to find her way, depending of her age, her position in society, and also in which country and which culture she's living in.
And I know we spoke very briefly off camera about this, but I know you're French, but why in particular? I mean, you could have carried on working, presumably in your career, just in France or in Europe, but what was the particular reason you decided to...
to move in California. I fell in love, actually.
With California or the man?
No, with the woman.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
I'm French,
No, when I say sorry, it's none of my business.
And he was a woman. I did a film in the US. I was living here in Paris. I mean, Paris, not Nice, but in Paris. I had an agent and I did a film in the US, and I fell in love with this painter. And I decided to quit everything to move there. And she broke my heart after 2 weeks, obviously.
Right.
But I continued, I studied, and I started making film, and then I moved to LA.
So despite that, you decided to stay in the country?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really had the chance to meet people who recommended me to stay.
Right.
So I had a crazy story. I tried to kill myself. Don't do that. It's $24,000 in US, by the way. So, because of love. But I really had people like supporting me, as Eduardo actually. So I started doing film after films, and it worked well. So. And
in terms of your career, have you been? Look, I know you get lots of no's. We talk about this constantly. But in terms of your working career, have you been sort of quite? I don't say lucky. It's not luck. It's you work for it. But lucky in terms of the amount of work you've actually got. Yeah,
actually, I did short films and feature. I had with this one 4 nominations, 2 awards of Best Actress. I'm still working in LA. I'm expecting a big feature when I'm going to be the lead with Jack Perez. It's going to be Shotgun Wedding. So I'm still kind of like between Paris and Los Angeles. But I'm with Trump and everything, I try to go back to Europe. I'm missing this cinema,
When you say cinema, you mean the French
European.
Right, okay.
I mean, it's more the fact that, the industry of Hollywood, I really feel that has a big responsibility in the way society evolved and the way we had Trump at the election, And you know, Hollywood became an industry, not an art. And I think Europe and the rest of the world and this kind of festival that you're trying to pull up with are the only reason that art still exists, and like we can recognize people for what they write.
And I wonder, before you started out on this journey working in the US, I guess it must cross your mind, I'm from France, is that going to be an advantage or disadvantage with your accent?
Both,
But it's obviously turned out to be, well, not obviously, I guess it's turned out to be an advantage in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, French in America, I mean, it was kind of like, it's all about seducing at first, so it was really evident with filmmakers and like meeting people. The problem with my accent, I mean, it was pretty bad. I had to ADR pretty much everything after the shoot.
Oh, what? Because it was so French then? Because I mentioned earlier, I can tell the edge. Obviously, I can tell you're French, but it's not. Let's put it this way: if I was to speak to someone in here that could speak English that's French, it's quite, to me, it would be quite radically different because they're speaking English, but yours softened might be the way to describe.
Yeah, I speak less like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was really worse. Like there are some ways when you could not understand me. I had to ADR some stuff. So that was the problem. Even now, nobody casts me as an American person.
No, you mentioned that. So you've never taken a role and we've had to put on an American accent?
No. It would be like a Canadian, European, or just foreign or French, but not American.
And I know you mentioned about coming back to France perhaps to work, but have you actually seen that in the last sort of 5-10 years that how the industry has changed that quickly?
You mean in France or in America?
No, in America.
In America, I wouldn't say, I mean, it's actually trying to change because they're actually kind of tired, because Hollywood became a big industry with kind of like the 50s, 60s, you know?
Yeah.
And like now they're realizing all this kind of like huge amount of people who want to do that, and they're trying to pull up with kind of more independent festivals.
Right.
But I mean, still, like, I mean, in LA, I had to deal with, you have to do the audition only if you have like 1,000 followers on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
As an actress.
Oh, I see. So that's become like really, to some people, really important.
Exactly. You don't see the. You know, for me, it's like Fellini would say, like, if it's not a necessity, it's not art, and it's useless. I didn't feel the urge and the need to like make films in Los Angeles as it is strong I felt in Paris or in Europe in general.
So, have you ever had offers of work that you've turned down because, let's put it this way, the story just didn't hit you, or it just wasn't your kind of thing?
More women. I mean, in LA, I mean, definitely it's changing, but the position of women sometimes is kind of like unbearable.
Yeah.
And I pretty consider myself as, I'm a feminist.
Right.
And if there is a position of the woman, and especially when it's a man who who writes for women, it's always complex. Like right now, I'm going to work with Jack Perez on this feature, and it's a story about two women.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you don't feel that it's a man who wrote this story.
Oh, right, he's really got inside the, okay.
And so I had to refuse some role when I would talk to the director and the writer, and I didn't feel comfortable having my image, representing the story. I mean, I couldn't. I was saying that I don't know what I could bring to the film.
Yes.
Because I didn't believe in, So
it was a no.
Because I don't want to bring, the crew down. You have so many people involved in a team, in a film. If you have like the lead actress who's there and doesn't want to be there, what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't happen that much. But it happened. But that would be the reason I would say no. It's like.
I mean, I've spoken to a couple of filmmakers about this. Yesterday, I was talking to a female filmmaker, and the reason I mentioned it being female is because I brought up about the lack, not lack, because it's the wrong word, but in relation to the amount of men working in the industry that are calling the shots and directing, editing, producing. And I guess you've experienced that as well. There's a lot more men there. So, do you think in the European cinema is different in terms of the women that are having the bigger parts behind the camera? calling the shots, if you like?
I mean, look at this festival. You have, I was talking to a female filmmaker. I just knowing like famous filmmaker, I can say many names in France. I don't know all Europe neither, but
Yeah.
I feel that because the foundings for productions and films are from sometimes the States.
Yeah.
And I think it's give more like equal opportunity rather than like more private productions in US,
Yeah.
you know. And but there is still, I'm not saying that US are bad and Europe is
No,
good,
but
you know?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I just feel that it's getting better.
Yeah.
There is still a lack of difference of equality between male and female, whatever it is in front of camera and behind. But I really truly believe that it's getting better. Like I see more female currents.
And you personally seen a physical change in terms of the amount coming?
I mean, I'm not talking like I was an 80 years old woman, you know, like I still have everything to learn. But I mean, I had many more stories written by female and directed by female that have been like given to me than when I started. So I would say yes.
And what about behind the camera yourself? Have you done that? Was that something?
Yeah, I'm a director-writer.
Right.
So
okay.
I do more experimental films.
So you're one of the women that are changing this, actually. No, but you are. You're one of those that's.
I try to believe, like right now, I wrote two fiction, and they always talk about the same thing, like kind of like, actually, yeah, I'm kind of. It's more like a critique of Hollywood and the position of women in Hollywood. So that's kind of like the main, and also mental health, because I lived in San Francisco for years. So that's the main like kind of topics of my films. But yeah, I'm trying. I still don't know if I'm going to direct it because I always act in my films. So I like to give the direction to someone else.
So it's interesting. Sorry to interrupt. So it's interesting you live in San Francisco, not LA. But is that a disadvantage? It makes no difference these days.
It's just like in San Francisco, I lived for 4 years, and you really believe. I don't know if you've been there.
I've been to the States a few times. I've never been to the West Coast.
So it's like being in an Herzog film. You know, it's like during the 70s, Reagan just stopped funding and helping healthcare, and especially in hospitals. And so all the mental people went out. And you know, all the East kind of like tried to clean their cities, to gentrify everything, and like put people on bus to go to California. And so you have many homeless people in San Francisco because the weather is good.
Yeah, I've heard this.
And half of them have mental issues. And even in general, you can say to someone you're diabetic, you can't say you're bipolar. It's a taboo in every society. Come on.
No,
but you know, like...
Yeah, no, genuinely, but I always imagine the West Coast is very progressive. That's the reason I mean,
you know, they just smoke pot to like forget that they can't have decent health care. But it's not going to save the problem.
No, of course it isn't.
I mean, I'm not against weed. I love weed, but it's not going to, like, it's not going to help people to get better.
Because I've experienced, when I was at the States, I was in Chicago, really serious begging, which on a level I've not seen before, and I've seen begging. And another filmmaker said to me, it's really quite bad in San Francisco. Again, I've got no reference point because I've not been. But is that the case? Is it quite full on?
It's tough. I mean, you cannot have this, like especially San Francisco now. It's becoming a little bit of a Silicon Valley city, you know.
Right.
When people are pushed, a little bit of like Chicago, people are pushed in the suburbs, especially the black community in Oakland but you know, it's still one of the states which had the most help in the US. I mean, look, they wanted to be for Bernie Sanders.
Well, yeah, and I think as an economy, on its own, it would be somewhere in the top 10.
Independent.
Yeah, it could be independent.
Yeah, completely. They actually said that after Trump won. They wanted to become independent with Oregon and Canada, like maybe to attach to them.
Yeah.
So it is, and I think that it helps. Like, they still have like the most help for filmmakers. Actually, San Francisco is one of the biggest cities for experimental film.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because actually, I think, I don't know if they call it a 7x7, but there's some name it can be. Because San Francisco is actually quite a small city, I believe, isn't it? I always think of it as a sprawl, but am I right in suggesting it's actually quite small?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I really believe that there is really a strong community that's trying to like fight also a little bit Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And like to become more like independent filmmakers and like help filmmakers and try to bring this new like more art scene that was not present before that.
And if you could, do you see when you watch films, not films you're in, but do you still, when you watch any number of films, do you see a mistake that's made in those films that you can see and you just think, why do they keep doing that in films? Or in other words, is something you watch in a film just pisses you off when you watch it because they're always making the same error about the way they make it or the acting in it or the story writing? I don't know. So.
You mean with my performance?
No, not with your performance. So, for instance, you might go to see a film, 10 different films, and you can see plot holes left, right and centre, or the directing isn't very good, or the way they treat women is appalling, or the writing. What I'm trying to get at is there something you keep seeing that really hacks you off continuously when you're watching films? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like the majority of films about women, that would be like what I said before. Like me, what sometimes shocks me the most is how you can tell it's a man who wrote a story.
Right.
You know, and it's a very patriarchal kind of point of view.
Yeah.
And especially about women. So, but again, I really believe it's changing. I think with television, it helps a lot.
Right, because there's a lot more. Yeah, there's.
Like writers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the writing. Some of the writing to the TV shows is incredible. I mean, some stuff on Netflix I know, and Orange is the New Black, and what's that one with the guy, the drug dealing one? What was it called?
Which one?
Oh, the one, that massive one. I only saw one episode.
Westworld?
Westworld. I haven't seen Westworld. I've seen the loads of the West Wing, and the other one I saw
Sense8, I think, is a pretty good, like, you know, it's all around the world. And
right.
You have with the Kalofsky, the two sisters now, because they translated. But,
I've read about this. No, I haven't seen it. I've read about it. Then the one I did see a few episodes of, which I thought was brilliant, was it The Press Room? And it was Jeff. He was the anchor, or the newsroom. Might be the newsroom.
Newsroom.
Yeah. He was amazing, but I think that's stopped now. But those kind of series and the writing on them was absolutely first rate.
Yeah.
And House of Cards. I think you get
House of Cards. My God.
Yeah.
I mean, you see like these kind of characters of women that come back. Even Homeland. You know.
Excellent.
You really have strong characters of women that coming into The Big Little Lie, who is this show by with Nicole Kidman, with the Spoon, and Laura Dern.
Right.
And you have also it's kind of feminist and strong female characters. So I think it's changing.
Right.
You know, and I'm talking about the woman because it's my topic as a white woman, but like I would say like even people of colors and different cultures, I think it's getting more, you know, worldwide. You have more people from all over the world or any kind of like genre and social background that start to write, you know. It's like, it's not the little white ex-colonialists that tell stories anymore like for others. It's people who like now tell the stories of themselves, and for me that's the most important. And especially as an actor, because we kind of like the you know, the people who are gonna represent these stories, I'm gonna be the body, who's gonna almost the brush, who's gonna be paint, what the painter wanna say. And for me, I love working with the director, with the writer, or also have a certain connection with the writers, if it's not the director who wrote it, because that's their stories.
So you must love it which must happen when a director or writer will say to you.
That's what I love the most.
Yeah, and they must, collaboration, when they say you on set and they go, actually, we're about to film this, we've written this, and if you can say, well, actually, what do you think about doing this? And they go, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, is that kind of thing that you're sort of alluding to? Because it must be really nice when that happens.
Yeah, and also it depends on directors. You know, you have directors when, for example, Eduardo, he's a Brazilian, so he's someone, you know, who's like very exuberant. So you really can talk on set, and we always evolving and talking a lot. And for example, you have directors who are more technicians, so there's a lot of prep work when we talk, and I ask the question that I want, and I kind of feel the vibe where I should, you know, let him control, or it's kind of like a love story, dominance, you know. And then sometimes there are people who like, we talk before, but then on set we never talk and they don't say anything because they want to have this vibe of like disconcern, you know, like kind of like balance and being not that confident. So I trust, you know, you feel when you can talk to someone or not, or if you can like.
No, you're absolutely right. It's like doing a job interview, and I've done loads of them, and I think, this is my personal opinion, I can suss someone out in less than a minute. In other words, who they really are, you know, not who they really are, no. If they're sincere, might be a better way to describe it. And I've never ever had a bad interview. Well, I've had one bad interview with one actress a couple of years ago. But that was my fault. No, it was my fault. I realised that because she planked, and the questions I asked her, and they were really like two or three word answers. And at the time, I was pretty hacked off about it. But then afterwards, I thought, well, actually, it's not her fault. It's my fault because I obviously wasn't engaging enough or asking the right questions. So I can't blame her. But every filmmaker I've ever met has always been sincere. There's no doubt about it because they're artistic and I'm painting you all the same brush, but you just go with me on this. I find them quite very artistic, very liberal. And they're trying to create something, aren't they? Whether it's your performance or the writing or whatever it is. So you know they're wearing the heart on the sleeve. I'm not saying you're not driven.
No, definitely. And sometimes with the small budget.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's also the main problem. It's like I really agree with you. They are sincere, but the problem is like the communication and also that the budget. You know, the fact that we don't have enough money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conflicts.
Yeah.
Like I did this film on the water when I was shooting in Lake Tahoe. It was like, it was 13 degrees water, 55 for Americans, but like 13 degrees water. Someone had to pull me down with the rope, and I couldn't go up because in Lake Tahoe you have a lot of altitude and cold.
Yeah.
And I was in hypothermia all the time, and so they would like put me down in the water, and like I couldn't.
Continuously?
Yeah.
Oh, shit,
and I couldn't go back, so I had a diver who would give me air when we caught. I mean, it was the worst experience of my life, but. That in that case, because of the pressure of the budget, of the risk, you know, when you have very small budget, independent films, sometimes actors, they want to do everything, they want to say yes, because they are scared not to do the film.
Yeah.
So they put themselves into dangers, and filmmakers are also, and that can bring a lot of conflicts, even though, as you say, everybody's sincere and have the passion to make art.
Actually it's the right way to describe it. It's the passion that they're bringing to the project, so you know that when you're talking to them, it's all real. There's no bullshit.
No.
And, you know, because why would they? And the other amazing thing is, unless you ask a filmmaker, which I never do, they will never talk about the budget. So, for instance, it's funny you mentioned about budget. There's a film here, What Waits in the Red, there's £7,500 budget. Now, I knew it was a tiny budget, but it was a feature-length film, brilliantly shot. But I said to them, I will never ask you about the budget, but I'd like to because the budget's so tiny. Would you mind me asking? But even they had to think about it, and they came back and said, thanks for asking us, but yeah, it's fine because we put it in our literature. So that's an example of a micro-budget film, but everyone that's involved, and I'm sure it's the same with you, and every filmmaker I speak to, you're going to put your heart and soul into. So I know it's the real deal. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And so they never. The money's important, of course. It's important. You want to get your money back. You want to make money. You want to build hope that this is proof of concept or a stepping stone to something else. Not necessarily your project, but any of these projects. But the truth is, they don't mention the money, which is an amazing thing because in any other industry that I've ever worked in, the first thing they're going to talk about is the money because they want the money, yeah. But they don't. So that tells me that it has to be a passion project.
I mean, why would you make film? Just work in banks if you want to make money.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah. So I already know before you sit down, I've even met you, that it's going to be a sincere interview because it is with all the filmmakers. And that interview I told you about, even that wasn't about the money, it was about me screwing up and asking the wrong kind of questions, frankly, and it wasn't actually her fault. And I realised that actually it was just my fault. So yeah, there is never any question about the people I'm going to speak to. It's not all going to be real, which is a fantastic thing because actually this is the best part of my job is to speak to people and find out the gig. Because really, we haven't spoken about Dali, have we?
No.
Really?
Who cares?
But actually, that is the point. That is the point.
You know, yeah, I agree
that is
with
the point. Because I'm happy to talk about it, but You've already said a couple of things to me before the interview that are really interesting. So we've gone off in another direction, and you know, and that's a really nice thing. So I'm happy to talk about the film, and no problem at all. And that's generally what I speak about with filmmakers, but you don't have to, do you? Anyway, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Wonderful to talk to you, and really appreciate your time.
We're in an empty house. I've never been here before. I don't even recognize the neighborhood.
What are you talking about?
Do you recognize the place?
No. What's the last thing you remember?
Well, we were having dinner at the restaurant. Then
Then what?